Hey guys, welcome back to another video on Eternal Magic. So this guide is going to be about the Knight. So I've got two different specs that I want to cover. I've got the DPS and I've got the tank. So first we're going to cover the tank spec. We're going to go over the abilities first, and I'm going to explain to you guys why some abilities work well with other abilities. First of all, I'm in the defense stance, and then let's go from left to right, move the way down. So the reason I use Fatal Thrust is because it has a bleed effect. So the damage it does, raw damage, is lower than the other abilities. But when it strikes, it's going to cause a bleed, which every 3 seconds would do 200 damage. So within 3 seconds, it's going to have the same amount of damage that the other abilities would have. And then 3 seconds following, plus your normal attacks, you would have actually done more damage. And then it actually does something else that's extremely important. It gives a chance in order to renew the Shield Strike. Shield Strike is one of the core abilities that you're going to be working on this build. Then we have Double Thrust. So the reason I have Double Thrust over one of these other ones here, so for example, Double Thrust, it immediately strikes the opponent twice and deals 350 damage. Okay, in case of your crit, you get back lost endurance points. This one here does holy damage to all the targets in the immediate area. And this one does 713 holy damage. And if the target dodges, then you will not lose endurance from the skill. So these are both two good skills. However, even though that's got 713 damage, you'd think that you'd want to go that, but you'd actually want to go Double Thrust, because with the different passives, for example, the Spear and Shield Unity, when you use your Double Thrust, Double Strike, which is the CBT English files, you actually make sure your Shield Strike is going to be a critical. Now, if you go back to your first skill, Fatal Thrust, well, we're actually increasing how many times we get Shield Strike. So they work really well with each other, and your Shield Strike is going to be the one that's doing a good amount of damage, because most of the time it's going to be single targets. Okay, then we have the Assault Spears and the Fearless Assault. So Fearless Assault may be useful when it comes to PvP, but for PvM, the Assault Spear, just go to Assault. Alright, now of course we want to go Shield Strike, because as I was talking about before, Double Thrust and the Fatal Thrust also they support the Shield Strike. The Holy Shield Strike and the Terrible Roar, this is going to be useful, but it won't be useful. It will be useful. The Terrible Roar will be useful when it comes to heroic dungeons and creatures that are going to actually hit quite hard. Early on, it's really not. You just go Shield Strike. The Holy Shield Strike, it deals more damage overall, but you're not going to get nearly as many critical strikes or renewals by using Holy Shield Strike. Alright, so let's go on to the actives. So because this is a tank spec, the reason that I've gone on to these actives is because they will support you as a tank. So this one here, the first one, like Q, it absorbs 500 damage nearly every 6 seconds. So if you've aggroed the creatures, and that's what you should be doing, then you just pop this every 6 seconds, and that way the healer is not going to have to heal you nearly as much, and you'll keep yourself up. And it also pretty much allows you to solo a lot of the bosses, so you can just speed ahead and beat the dungeons before your guys even catch up to you. Tank is really broken, by the way. It's very strong. So then we have the recover skill. So this is another reason why you want to do this, to support yourself. It immediately recovers 1400 HP, and then every second recovers 277 health and reduces received damage over time. So this has got a slightly higher cooldown. And you would use this, when you're getting down to 35, 40% HP, so you don't waste the immediate HP, as well as the boss may die, so you want your HP to keep going up over time. And then we have the Iron Wall, reduces all damage received by you. So Iron Wall has a huge cooldown, it's actually 2 minutes long, receives 40% less damage during 8 seconds. So just use that when you are really struggling, you can't get out of an AoE for whatever reason, or you've just got a lot of mobs on you and you can see a big hit coming. So you just one of those oh shit buttons. So each one of these actives have different runes. You can take images of this and then come back to it later. That's what I would recommend, because as a warrior, you're going to change between defensive stance and attacker stance depending on the what you're doing at the time. Because sometimes it just makes sense to play the attack rather than defense, just so you can get through the stuff quicker. Now, I've got the barrier here. The consumption is 20% left. But you can go onto these other runes, but that's the one that I went on to, just partially because it's English. You don't get many of that you don't get many dots, damn words. All you can do is transform into charge level 2. On activation, you absorb 20% damage from monsters for seconds. So that will just give it 2 points. which you can use 2 charges after it's charged up. So, like that. So one of these 2 I would recommend. Then we have here, obviously, the recover skill. When taking a dot, dot receives effect, 50%. Recovery health speed, 100%. You shouldn't really need that. Like, most times you're not actually going to get squashed. On activation to dispel all dot effects. Like I said, there's not that many dots. And they cool down by 15 seconds. I mean, just depends on your preference, really, doesn't it? I mean, this is another good one. And then obviously the Iron Wall, I went cooldown reduction on that because you want it to be as possible. Decrease damage by an extra 20% over the initial. Well, if you're getting hit that hard, you're in trouble anyway. And I don't think staying alive for an extra few seconds is going to save your life. Okay, so obviously in here there's 2. There's the provokes, the monsters that attack you. You're going to need that if you're playing tank. And the interrupting, well, hopefully other people are going to be interrupting for you. You don't actually need the provoke the monsters if you're ahead of everybody else, because you can just attack it and then you can hold the aggro. As long as somebody else doesn't potentially provoke it, then you can interrupt people as well, which I like to do that, but sometimes you randomly get assassins provoking enemies. Don't know why. Alright, so let's go down to the passives. So with the passives, why I chose it for this one here. So this first passive, double stab can reset the cooldown of shield strike, as we were talking about before. That's the double stab, that's the shield strike, and that supports each other. The second one is over here as pretty much raw armor or mitigation. It's going to be all damage received is reduced, max health defensive stance, health and armor, and damage to monsters are increased. So just overall useful. And this is pretty much the exact same thing. In defense stance, you can block damage, but you can't dodge it. But the blocking chance equals to dodging chance. So the damage just dealt by monsters is reduced. If you press Alt, you can have a look at it. They're not huge differences, but when you put them together, and then the fact that you've got just your wear and heavy armor and stuff, well, you're not really going to get hit that hard anyway. You need all that mitigation. You can get yourself different abilities like this here, which will make it so your dodge rate goes up, I believe it is. Yeah, your barrier absorbs 20% more damage and stuff. And there's a couple other little selections, but out of the lot so far, these are the best ones. And then this one here is very useful as well. Holy Shield Strike and their Shield Strike switch to level 2. So switch to level 2, it means that it gets 2 charges, so you can use them one after another. So Holy Shield Strike is, you can potentially use it, but once again, going back to this passive here, it means double thrust won't actually continue to recover the Shield Strike, and the Shield Strike is the one that does most of the damage. So with the Awakening skills, you have the Holy Shout Round, don't know what that's supposed to say. The shield accumulates Holy Light, causing all enemies in the area to do damage. This skill has a chance to reset the recovery time of Holy Shield Knockback. Okay, so that's this skill here, Holy Shield Knockback. It can bounce off to 5 targets and inflicts 1400 units of damage, and also heals you with every hit. So you'll find yourself in a position where your HP is going down quite a lot. Your healer's not healing you, because I don't know why quite often healers aren't healing in this game. I think it's because they're basically running out of mana. I assume that's the reason. And this skill alone will get you back up to pretty much max. So save your Awakening so for when you're in trouble, or when you've got a lot of mobs on you and all the AoE will just destroy them. The tank spec for Ultimate is crazy. This one here, Rage, spends all Rage inflicting all targets nearly 1000 damage of holy damage. You receive the State of Keeper. Received damage decreases when Rage advances to 40 units. Just another ability that does AoE. You've got these shields flying around you and it heals you up. And then this one is an impressive looking ability. It puts a big shield around the area. The shield builds a wall shield, partially blocking the damage of all allies within a 7 meter radius. I'm going to quickly use some of the abilities now, just so you can have a look at them if you haven't seen them before. And then we're going to move on to the warrior build. So this is just a standard hit here, just the 1. This is the AoE. Go back into 2, and then go into 1, because you've got to build the Rage back up with your 1, and then you would cause your 4. So that's the one that blocks all the damage from different people. So yeah, the Rage, the tank itself is actually kind of crazy, and not to be underestimated when it comes to PvE. I think it's definitely better than the warrior build. Alright, let's move on to the warrior build. Okay, so this is the warrior build. not that different from the tank aside from mainly the actives. So you still want to use the Fatal Thrust in my opinion, double thrust, assault spears, and the sure strike. All of that still works really nice together versus other skills. Unless of course you've gone ahead and you've got stats that have holy power, then it may be a little bit different and you actually want to change it up because these will hit harder with the holy power. So I'm not going to cover this stuff again because we just covered it in the defense one. But we're going to go over these skills and what they actually do. So the reason for my choice for Earth Anger is because it does nearly 1,000 damage in AoE. You can either do that or you can do Execution. But the reason I choose Earth Anger is that damage overall, because quite often you're going to be pulling groups together. And this is AoE where Earth Anger is a single target. And single target for Execution, it's an Execution, so it can only be effective once the enemy is actually low HP. By the time that's once they're low HP anyway, they're pretty much going to die. The only time that you would actually have a use for Execution is when the HP pool is actually really large, in challenges like this one here, for example. And then, yeah, it's useful. It hits harder than most other abilities, but most of the time it's not. Okay, so then we have Power of Conquest and we have Release of Power. So that's these two abilities over here. Oops, that's not the one. Okay, so the Power of Conquest, it's the will to win, temporarily increases physical attack and power of light. Instantly instantly recovers Assault of Odds, 1 layers of skill, which is like this up here. And then this one here, Release of Power, upgrading strength and decreases armor, increases attack. So these cooldowns are actually kind of big, but what you do is when you're in a fight, you would release both of these at the time, press R, press E, and then you would just kind of, it would give you a temporary buff that's kind of big, and then you would follow up into it. And of course you would start using your active on your T. So if you actually press T when you're attacking, same with a defensive stance, it will temporarily increase your maximum current HP for that one, and this one will do damage. Okay, so you use these in junction with each other. There are a couple of different other things, like you can use the Messenger of War, it increases everybody else's attack, and you know it's a bit of a buff everyone. The Heavenly Battery, that's okay if you're doing holy damage and you've got large groups of enemies beside you. The shield throw, some people like that, but the cooldown is actually pretty big, so I would not prefer it. I don't like that. I feel like you can do these other abilities and do the same amount of damage, but if you use these abilities and then you use your normal abilities, if you use the actives and then you use your normal abilities, you're actually going to do more damage and get more out of your normal ones than shield throw. So we have some over here, you know, Brave Order increases health and allies max. I mean, that's okay for tank, but you don't need that as a warrior. The Steel Chariot, so this is something that basically you'll run between all the enemies, and it does an okay amount of damage, but you know, once again, it just comes back to preference for this guy. The warrior itself, you probably shouldn't play it in my personal opinion. It's possible, it's faster than the tank, but the tank is not that much slower, and the tank just unkillable. So there's not a whole lot of reasons to play this warrior DPS. Now, it is good in PvP though. Warrior is definitely good in PvP. Don't underestimate it. Warrior and tank for that matter. Alright, so the passives down here, why we've got these ones. This one here, Assault Attack and Assault Spears turn into 2 charges. So it's the Assault Spears up there, and what was the other one? The other version of this one. That one, I believe it is. Yeah, it is. You can see down the bottom. Anyway, Weapons Master, this one here, in attacker stance, attacks have a chance to ignore part of the armor. Assault Spears have a chance to reset attack and stance on cooldown. So that's just, you know, something that you want to use in order to other abilities. Back to Shield and Unity, super useful. You want to increase your Shield Strike, it's going to be one of your major single target damage, and Willingness to Act, once again, that's going to be supporting the Shield Strike. That's pretty much all there is to the warrior. The awakening skills are a little bit different to the tank. The DPS is actually pretty cool. It's pretty strong. I don't mind it at all. So I'm going to use that again in front of you, for you. See that? Right here. So I'd cast my Q, and then right here I'd cast my R, I'd cast my E, and then I would chuck on my awakening skills and start using them. So my 3 will throw out these cool spears, like so. but you need to increase your energy for that. Your 2 dashes through people and does a substantial amount of damage, and then just turn around and do 3, and you can kite people back with this stuff. So it's pretty strong. It's pretty cool. As you can see, I'm hitting 5k. I wasn't hitting that hard with the tank before, but fact remains that the damage on a tank would probably only be 15% weaker, give or take, and I would be able to just stand here for 2 minutes and not worry about it. So with the tank and the warrior, it's pretty obvious where and how you actually want your stats. It's mainly going to be health. It's going to be mainly, well, actually strength. If you really want to go for the strength, and then health will just come with it. The speed, it's always useful, but go for strength. It actually just tells you mainly the stats that you want for the game. Physical attacks, obvious. The strength, it actually affects your magic and your attack power and stuff. So as long as you're always going for that. We don't need agility, increases attack power by 0.1, dodge, and we don't need those. Intelligence, obviously we don't need that. Endurance, max HP by 15 on current level. So your endurance would be helpful, but you know, the best defense is offense in my opinion. So yeah. Okay, so that pretty much covers it for the class guide. When it comes to stats and stuff, I mean, it's pretty obvious, like I just mentioned, that you just got to choose the stats that has the 5 stars. But this character is strength, health. In order to, you know, go and increase your character further, you need to do stuff like enchant. You need to go to astrology. You need to go to the rune master. I've done guides on all of these. I haven't actually spoken about how or what stat you should put on each character, but I have actually explained how you can, what the interface is, and I've explained each individual NPC and what that works. So, you know, for example, you would just press V and open up the runes, and you put these runes on your gear, and you would go for the rune of death, which is physical attack, and you would go for the rune of power, you know, for strength. Remember, you can only have like 1 rune of power on a chest. You can't have 2 rune of powers on a chest. So you get a couple of these, and you would level them up, and then you would insert it onto your gear across the board, making you all that much stronger. So make sure you guys check out those other guides. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below. I will answer you guys. I'll give you in-depth information, but I'm not sure exactly what you need. I feel like that pretty much covers everything. Thank you for watching. Make sure to check out our other videos. You can support the channel by showing the love and commenting below and checking out those we are affiliated with. You can also get access to all our different social medias, which I'll link down below. Until next time, Coffee out.